Good morning, everyone. Happy Halloween. I see we have some tricksters in the back of the room this morning who probably had a really fun time at RE this morning. They had trick or treat in the park, and what a beautiful morning it is. So whether you are with us in Fellowship Hall this morning or in virtual space, welcome to this beautiful day as we continue to celebrate 75 years of the history of this fellowship. While this is our last service of 5 commemorating the anniversary, because of the pandemic, we'll be extending our celebration into the coming months and probably even into next year, because the one thing we haven't been able to do yet is gather for, or there's many things we haven't been able to do yet, but especially important to this fellowship is gathering together to share a meal. And that will be a delight when we are able to do that. So welcome. And for those of you who are in virtual space, I recommend that you set your viewing option to speaker and that you silence your microphone except during milestones. For those of you in Fellowship Hall, thank you. And for those of you who might like to come to Fellowship Hall, thank you for remembering to sign up to have one of our 40 chairs in advance, because by doing so, you offer another layer of caring for one another and keeping each other healthy and safe, and also making sure that we don't exceed the recommended limit of the room. We continue to learn the intricacies of combining in-person and virtual streaming. Thank you for your patience and understanding. I do have one announcement this morning that we recently, when we were talking about the building history, had a UUFA passport, this yellow sheet of questions. And the drawing has been done, and the winners of prizes, fabulous, not just prizes, fabulous prizes, are Mary Richards, Dennis Woline, and David Brenner. You can pick up your prizes this morning or at other times in the office, and thank you from the 75th Anniversary Committee. Each week, we begin our time together with the ringing of this chime 3 times. Once to wake the chime, once to open our minds, and once to open our hearts. As I light the chalice this morning, I offer words by Robin Gray. By the light of this chalice, we prepare for the future. We prepare ourselves for time of triumph and times of trial that might come. We prepare ourselves to be present to one another with loving hearts, even in the most difficult of times. We prepare ourselves to make the connections that will lift us out of isolation and prepare the path of justice and equality. Welcome to this morning in Fellowship Hall and in virtual space. Our prelude this morning is by Leah Morris, a song called wind of change.
Hear the wind of change. Hear the wind of change. Hear the wind of change. Hear the wind of change. You can feel the wind of change. The healing wind of change. We can see the wind of change. We can be the wind of change.
Our opening words this morning were written by the Reverend Teresa Soto, and they're called Spilling the Light. And our reader this morning is Jean Eels.
Some people are used to keeping rules. Don't cross the street when the light is red. Only sensible. It turns out that keeping rules isn't the same as keeping covenant, which asks us, instead of keeping a bright line, to keep our promises. To what have we promised ourselves? To this moment in time and place, to this community, and even tenderly interconnected to this planet. We promise ourselves to the idea that we are each and all human beings. We promise that there is something moving between us that we cannot tame and cannot measure. The chalice is a reminder that what flame we keep inside us cannot light the way. The light must spill to shine. The thing you must be is yourself, unadulterated, shedding the willingness to journey alone, as though you are made of something hard and unforgivable. You are human. You belong right here, right now. And together, we will chase away the sickness, the secrets, and leave only the open possibility that the future is a space for growth.
This morning, our time for all ages is the story Maybe Yes, Maybe No, as interpreted by Leah.
Let me tell you about Farmer Chin. Farmer Chin had a pretty typical life. He had his acres and his harvest to tend to. He had his animals and his family to help with the tasks. He also had neighbors who would sometimes visit and bring dumplings and their opinions. One day, Farmer Chin's strongest, most beautiful horse ran away, and the neighbors came immediately to express their sorrow for Farmer Chen having lost one of his most valuable possessions. And they asked him if he wasn't just sad as he could be about that change of fortune. After all, losing value is a horrible thing to experience. Farmer Chen's response was, maybe yes, maybe no. The following day, that horse returned with 10 other wild horses, equally beautiful, equally strong, adding to Farmer Chen's stables. And the neighbors came running, celebrating, saying how wonderful it was that he now had all of these additional horses. Farmer Chen's response was, maybe yes, maybe no. The next day, his oldest child, who was to be the heir to the farm, the child who showed the most interest in inheriting this land and this responsibility, was taming the horses, or trying to, and their leg was broken in the process. And the neighbors came running once again to lament this change of fortune, saying how disappointed Farmer Chen must be that his child would now grow up, possibly with a limp for the rest of their lives. Isn't that just a sorrowful, sad state of affairs? Farmer Chen said, maybe yes, maybe no. A week later, an announcement went throughout the kingdom that war was at hand, and that the young, strong, able-bodied children would be conscripted into the army and into the service of the kingdom. But Farmer Chen's child wasn't able to go because their leg had just been broken. And the neighbors came running with the dumplings and the opinions, saying how wonderful it was. What a relief it must be to Farmer Chen that his child would not have to go and fight in the war. And Farmer Chen responded, I bet you can guess. Maybe yes, maybe no. This story reminds us that we always have the choice to remain open, to embrace all the possibilities in a situation when we might be tempted to immediately assume that something is a tragedy or even a great boon, that we might take a second, reevaluate the situation, and see how it unfolds. And you know, that story inspired me to write this song. The journey isn't over. The race is far from run. The story isn't written. The game's just begun. Each day is a new day. Every day is a new day. Who knows what comes next? If misery befalls you, let the misery take hold. When tragedy calls you, you can let the thing unfold. Each day is a new day, every day is a new day. Who knows what comes next? This might be the best day you ever had. The truth is, no day is really good or bad. Might be the path that you've chosen, might be the last one you would. Things might be getting so crazy, you would laugh if you could. Slide on through it with grace, open your heart and embrace whatever comes next. Slide into it with grace, open your heart and embrace whatever comes next. Whatever comes next.
The journey isn't over. Our offertory this month was chosen by the children of religious education. And this is your final chance in October to offer some financial support to the Ames Animal Shelter, a safe and human place for the care of homeless, unwanted, lost, injured, and many other animals as they look for forever homes for these animals. At the end of the service, please go to the UUFA website, look for the Giving tab, and thank you for your generosity in supporting the Ames Animal Shelter. And if you are in Fellowship Hall and would like to offer a check or some cash this morning, there is a basket by the door as you leave. Each week, we take time in our service to share milestones, significant things that are happening in our lives that are bringing us joy or challenge or gratitude. In this multi-platform environment, we do it in 2 steps. We'll hear the milestones here in Fellowship Hall first, and then take a few moments to breathe as we shift the technology, and I will let those of you in virtual space know when we're ready for you to share. So we'll begin with Fellowship Hall this morning. Please come to the microphone on the left of the room, introduce yourself, share your milestone, and I will light a candle for you. Before we begin there, I do have one milestone candle to share this morning. Many of you already know that a week ago tonight, honorary lifetime member Lotus Miller lived into eternity, whatever that may mean. But she'll be forever present in the life and history of this fellowship and in our hearts. Okay, I had advance notice that there would be a milestone. Why don't you stand up, Jamie, and turn. If you turn this way, the camera will, there you go.
Okay, thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Gerganis, and I wanted to light this milestone to thank everyone on the 75th Anniversary Task Force for all your hard work. When we started meeting way back in March, we had no idea what we were going to be able to do as far as the pandemic was concerned, and we had a lot of ideas as to how to put together 75 years into something that would be memorable to everybody. And we soon realized there was too much to put together in one big event, so we were lucky to work with the Sunday Morning Program Committee and Kent to put together these 5 incredible services for everyone. So I just want again to thank everyone, and especially to Bradley for putting together our logo and our banner, and hopefully everyone can enjoy the rest of today's service. So thank you.
This is not very personal, except that it's just something I heard when I was first awake this morning. In fact, it was my clock alarm. So as usual, I didn't remember the numbers involved. But there's another good thing about this, it's something good about the House of Lords, which is a British institution that I sometimes don't have much respect for. But in this case, it was a female member of the House of Lords. She was a lady something, or a viscountess something, or something like that. Anyway, she's also a civil rights lawyer, and she managed, with her connections, to airlift a huge number, as I said, I don't remember the number, and I was half asleep, airlift a huge number of female judges out of Afghanistan. You know, these women had put a number of men in prison, so they were a target. So that was very good news to wake up to.
I invite you into a time of deep breathing and reflection. And in a moment, we'll hear from our friends in virtual space. Please.
Hello. My name and my milestone are actually kind of very intertwined. I am Dr. James Perrin.
Hi, congratulations, James. That's wonderful. I'm Lynn Van Valen, and I have two actual milestones for October. Number one, I tested positive for COVID and came out of that very well, had the antibodies and feel really good now. So I would like to just thank everyone who reached out to me with food, flowers, notes, all kinds of ways, cards. And my second milestone is that I turned 80 this month. And so that's another time when I got lots of cards and lots of good greetings. So I want to thank everyone in the fellowship for thinking of me. Thank you. That is all.
This is Joan White, and I attended yesterday a memorial service for the dead at the fellowship, which was very nice. I appreciated being in person with fellow UUers, and just the sentiments that were expressed and the opportunity to express those. I thought was a lovely thing, and I would like to light a candle to all those who passed away during the past 2 years that are part of the fellowship and really did not get the recognition or the memorial services that traditionally happen. So it was lovely. Thank you, whoever put that together. I'm done.
The final candle is lit for all of those milestones that we hold silently in our heart. Know that whatever brought you here today in person or in virtual space, whatever you carry today, know that we all carry it together with you. This is a loving community, and on this journey, no one has to make the journey alone. You are loved. For all those milestones that have been spoken and those that remain unspoken, let's be together in a moment of silence. It's good to be together. I would also, the celebration yesterday was organized and put on by the Compassionate Companions, a group of this fellowship. And I want to let you know that we will be having memorial services for those who have died when we're able to have the building completely open. So it's hard to wait, but we will celebrate everyone in the way that we would like to remember them. Our service this morning is called Building a New Way Together.
We are building a new way together. We are building a new way together. We are building a new way, getting stronger every day. We are building a new way together. We are working to be free.
I sense that when we start singing together again, we may have to add a new word to this song. We can't sing it together right now, but let's practice. Let's practice. Let's say, we are building a new way, and then you know what's next. Ready? We are building a new way. And I hope you joined in virtual space together. Our reading this morning is by Rick Hoyt. It's called Beyond Borders, and the reader is Ralph Gandy.
Go forth, because we are always going forth from somewhere, going from our homes, our childhoods, going from our cities and countries, going from innocence to experience to enlightenment, going into mystery and questions, going into the desert, going to the other side. Go forth, leave behind the comfort and community of one place, head into the anxiety and loneliness of another. Carry with you the love and laughter of this place, and let it light your way. Carry with you the wisdom you learned and the good memories. May they give you strength for your journey. And when you have been away long enough, far enough, done what you'd set off to do, been there so long, that place too starts to feel like home, come back. Come back to the one, universal everywhere, and every when, and everyone inclusive home. This beloved community of all creation that you can never really leave.
I'm not advancing. This morning, the first part of our program comes from 2015 from our congregation in Ann Arbor, who was celebrating 150 years with a panel of leaders from across the UU country. I'm going to share a few segments of that panel, observations on the dawning future. And we'll make the whole video available to you and hope that you'll watch it. There are a lot of relevant points being made here to touch our own future history.
The world is changing. The world is changing rapidly. The social movements out there right now are confronting existential questions. Whose lives matter? Who will be saved? That oldest religious question, who will be saved if there is in fact an ecological catastrophe? Who will be saved? Who will be spared? All of the relations that existed for millennia around gender, sexuality, all of that changing. So when we come together to talk about the future of the church, we're not just talking about the future of the church, we're talking about the future of everything and what the future of the church is role in that. The question for us is, we have had here 150 years of experience in being liberal religion in this place. And we are part of a tradition that has 400 years of being liberal religion in the United States, and a tradition that goes back much farther than that, for millennia. What is it that we have learned? What has been revealed to us by our experience that is going to be essential and useful and life-saving for the world as it goes through these changes ahead? What is it that we have learned that is useful knowledge for everyone. And then, how do we organize ourselves into an institution that can make that knowledge effective and real in the world?
The world of today doesn't need churches of people who all look like me. The world of today does not need all white churches. It does not need all educated churches. It does not need all rich churches. It does not need all poor churches. What it needs is churches who can demonstrate and live into the vision of building community across differences. We need churches that are not talking, whose voices are not all able-bodied, whose voices are not all cisgendered. We need voices that are communing rather than colliding. We need people to be able to sing. We need people to be able to speak with powerful voices to broken folks like me and change their lives with single songs, single verses of single songs. We've been talking for decades, centuries, about wanting to be a faith of action. We talk about being deeds, not creeds, honoring deeds, not creeds, honoring actions more than analysis, or at least at the same level as analysis. And yet, our worship is based on a system which has most of us sit silently while somebody else tells us about their theological reflections.
So what's going on in communication is a revolution that's been compared to the invention of the printing press in size. If you look at social movements all over the world, including in the US, social media is why things get attention that the authorities maybe don't think are worthy of attention. And so this is our chance, in my opinion. We who will never be Mormons and go door to door suddenly have the opportunity to reach out to hundreds of thousands of people who are shown in study after study to resonate with our values. So that's what we've been trying, and we've really been trying many, many things. To do this involves a spirit of experimentation. And it involves a willingness to fail. As Tom said, not everything that we've done has worked well. For instance, right now, our online worship platform makes me want to scream and hide because the platform we were using quit existing the way we were using it, and we switched. And the one that we have, we can see by our analytics, isn't working. And there's nothing to do but live through it until we can figure out what else to do. And that is the nature of this work, is that you try something, you can see exactly when people leave. You don't have to wonder if their minds are wandering. They click off. You know for a fact when they go. And so, you know, that is the kind of resilience that you have to develop in order to do this work. And I think one of the things that can work against us is our desire to not go out until we've got it all just right. Because in this world, we never will. Just when you get it right, the platform you used is going to quit existing, right? And so it's got to be a spirit of experimentation, adaptation, and willingness to fail, sometimes very publicly, you know, and to just say, well, that's the nature of it.
One of the things about me is that I believe in paradoxical thinking. I believe always that there's probably rarely an either or that I agree with. There is almost always a both and. And so what I believe about the bottom line to that question, is there a future for our congregations, is this. Yes. If, and only if, they are places of deep connection and authenticity, if they're places where we can share our greatest joys, where we can be ardent, an old-fashioned word, even though that's countercultural and not cool, where we can be free to share our griefs as well and reveal those chipped parts of our hearts to one another, and most importantly, where we can together, in real time, offer resources that allow us to be reformed and transformed. So, both and. Maybe yes, and maybe no. So in thinking about this, you know, what I've really thought about a lot is I think about this all the time. I think about it in the shower, just to mention the shower again on the panel, so you won't be the only one, Sue. I think about this all the time. What can save the faith that saved my life? Because I'm another one for whom this was a life-saving faith. And this is what I believe. I have done a lot of work in my career around multiculturalism. And I'm probably known, if I'm known for anything in this association, which is probably not much, but for my work around race and looking at our struggles with race as an association. But here's the thing. We face a challenge today that is about being multicultural in ways that are much greater than race. It's about being multicultural in every aspect of our being. My colleague, I also teach at Meadville Lombard, my colleague Mark Hicks likes to say that every encounter that you have is multicultural because there's something about that person's life experience that's different from yours. And so I think if we can come into this with an awareness of that, then we have the opportunity to be together, because I think we face every day that I minister in the congregation that I am privileged to serve, I realize that I minister to at least 2 congregations, and they are vastly different, and they want vastly different things. There are actually more, but it makes me feel a little better to think I'm, ministering to only 2 congregations at every moment. And one are the people who came in at a time when they really needed freedom, and the other congregation are the seekers that are coming in who really need something to hold on to and structure and places for people to hold them in a world that offers them way too much freedom. So in that sense, that's what I think we need to do. And in the biggest sense of that, what I believe is that we have to concentrate on a couple things. Gratitude and trust. Gratitude and trust, being grateful for those who came before us, knowing our own history, knowing the mission of our faith, knowing that we are a faith that for whom people have died, as Tom referred, people have sacrificed so that we can be here. I once taught a UU history class, and a woman who had been raised Unitarian Universalist, birthright Unitarian Universalist, left the room in anger when I said that we grew out of the radical wing of Christianity. She did not believe that. She thought I was lying. She left. 60 years of being a UU, and that had never been presented to her before somehow. Anyway, we need to know where we come from, and we need to be grateful for it. We need to hold that as a trust. And we need to take that trust into our relationships with one another. We come from a heretical faith. That means we are people, the word heretic just means at its root to question. We are people who are questioners. But sometimes, folks, we just question way too much. And that creates a culture of being critics rather than a culture of covenant and care for one another and compassion.
My name is Sue Kearson, and this morning I represent the 75th Anniversary Task Force. What you have just watched is only a very small portion of this panel discussion on the future of Unitarian Universalism. The participants are all UU ministers and our leaders, as Kent said, in our national organization. I love sharing this because for me it's very compelling. But you know what else I find compelling and inspiring? Our history. Our UUFA history as we've relived it the last 4 weeks. First, a confession on my part. I never thought that an entire month of dragging our history out of boxes and wherever else it came from would be of interest to anyone other than those who had lived through it. Wrong. Completely wrong. I have found the last 4 weeks to be truly inspiring and insightful. 75 years of persistence and commitment to a brand new faith group, to an RE program designed always to teach inclusion and acceptance, to a vigorous music program that's been an important ministry, and a serious commitment to a very long list of social activities, almost always involving food, and clearly meant to create community, strong connections, and support for every member. Then, when it seemed like things were falling apart, this group started a building fund, which resulted in some major risk-taking, meaning the design and funding of the original part of this building, which, as we heard earlier this month, grew over several decades into its current configuration. And this year, we topped it off with a new roof. All of these things take skilled leadership. They take vision and a commitment to building a better world. It takes teachers, it takes people who love to cook. It takes money, ongoing money. It takes an ability to deal with conflict. What's with that story of 30 people leaving? I'd like to know the details. But really, I'm especially interested in the spirit of the fellowship movement, which required full participation for survival of the group. And this congregation carries the legacy of that full participation spirit. The thing is, all those qualities I just named, they're still here. And that's what we're all going to build on, even as our future looks very different. There's a lot being written these days and a lot of public discourse around the concept that there's no going back to the pre-pandemic church. So let's think about that. Here at the UUFA, the miracle created by our staff and leadership to connect us on Zoom the very first Sunday we couldn't be together, that's become a basic expectation. If I can't be here or choose not to be here in person, I'm still guaranteed the perfect seat. That expectation colors our future. And if I can't be here or online at 11, I'll just watch it later. The expectation of information on demand, that colors our future. RE in the park has kids joyously running around, taking hikes, making like bugs. Remember those videos from last Sunday? Exploring plants and water quality. This RE experiment will color our future. Matthew in Oklahoma City is a new member of our congregation, and now he's a Soul Matters facilitator. This week, we received a pledge of financial support from a person across the state who has been participating in one of our affinity groups. As Reverend Meg Riley just reminded us, that's our future too. Way back when we were just starting to suspect that the pandemic had truly captured our normal lives, Kent presented a Sunday service that included a contemporary creation story, along with the question, is the pandemic a new creation story? I wrote the question on a scrap of paper and taped it inside my bathroom cabinet, the perfect place, obviously, to put something you want to think about. And the longer I observe and study and experience my world, the closer I get to answering, yes, the pandemic is a new creation story. So I'm hoping we will welcome the challenges and the potential of this new creation story, that will gather up all those amazing qualities we've cultivated over the years and recommit ourselves to the life of this fellowship. There's no better way to celebrate 75 years than for each of us to bring whatever we do best to a place that we love. Thank you for listening.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Frankum, and I currently serve on the fellowship board. I've been asked today to spend a few minutes with you talking about the membership survey that we sent out as a board. This was established as one of our board goals for this year, and we wanted to look at what we could derive from the survey that indicated things about our future. So getting right into it, we sent this out to the membership and friends group, list of the congregation, and we also collected hand-done versions as well, and we've included the results here. 97 people responded, and we'll be talking a little bit about some of those responses as we go forward. I will say that this is quite a narrow view of what arrived to us in that survey. There were 97 people who responded to something like 40 questions, and it's been narrowed down here. Well, it was narrowed initially to a deck of 50 slides, and we'll have about 10 or 15 here that we'll talk about today. Some of the questions that I approached when looking at this: who are we, and who do we aim to be? What do we care about, and what direction are we moving in, and what from the survey can we infer? So first of all, staying the course. It's clear in the survey data that we're doing a lot of great things here at the fellowship. I've put together a word cloud, and for those of you who are not familiar with word cloud, essentially this takes all of the words that were entered into the survey in relationship to this question of what do we love about the survey, and the larger words are words that were more often repeated. So if you look at the word cloud here, you'll see friends, you'll see music, ideas, others, people, meeting, thought, community. So there's a lot to love about the UUFA. The second slide here on this topic, we ask, what are the most important needs that you or your family feel are fulfilled by the UUFA? And you can see here social, spiritual, and intellectual needs are fulfilled by the UUFA. So there are many things we want to keep as we move forward and as we act as a community. Community is really important to us here, apparently, as we found in the survey. An interesting slide here, an interesting graph. We surveyed folks and asked if they'd been more or less connected through the virtual meetings. And what we see here is that almost 38% were saying they felt less connection. So this is something we need to consider and we need to address as we move forward, is how we connect. And I think in some ways things have gotten better. We have hybrid, but this was during a time when folks were not here in person. And so what does this say about how we will meet going forward? And just to bounce it back to this slide, how many of these items relate to community? How many of the most emphasized items here relate to community and our relationships between each other? Okay, we're going to jump to another word cloud. This is, there's going to be a series of two here. One responds to what people are participating in now, and the second responds to what people would like to participate in the future. So this is what people were participating in at the time of the survey. You'll notice Sunday, Soul Matters, other committees and groups, and then looking forward, this is what people would like to be participating in. And so I'm going to back up to the other one and then move forward again. You'll notice there's some similarities there. So this is another indication that we have some great things going and that people are interested and willing to participate in a lot of the things that we're currently doing. So we asked a few demographic questions in the survey, and let's start with some of the basics. We won't hit too many of these, but some I felt were important to share today. So this slide talks about the age of the respondents in the survey, which generally reflects the age of our congregation. A third of respondents are in their 70s, 82% were over 50, 90% were over 40. So I'll ask the question, what does this mean for our fellowship and going forward? What does it mean for how we flourish long term? Respondents on the survey encouraged continued support of a robust children's program and support of community among families with children in the responses. This data may highlight the need for an active membership coordinator or some other effort in that regard. We learned a couple of weeks ago of Irv, I don't remember his last name, but Irv Klaus, thank you. Thank you, Irv, for your early efforts to bring folks to the membership. I think we'll jump on to the second. So how long have you been in the UU Fellowship of AIMS? 73% of respondents have been associated with the UFA for more than 10 years. almost 17% for 5 years or less, and 5% for a year or less. This also sort of gives an indication of where we are as a group and the longevity of folks who are here. And we need to start thinking about the trajectory of the UFA and how we welcome a spectrum of age as well as a spectrum of other people, of other elements to the UFA. So we asked a lot about what you were interested in, and we received some good feedback on what that was. So we'll talk about a few of those, a few of the results there, and we'll talk about the eighth principle. So we asked to what degree multiple topics were of interest to you. These are just the top 5. So we have significant interest in climate change, immigration, secondary effects of COVID-19, LGBTQ plus issues, and Black Lives Matter race issues. So as we move forward, we need to take this interest and move into action with these interests. And also these will be the sorts of topics that we'll continue to discuss and approach in meetings and in education. Specifically on, we talked a little bit about adult RE, and we proposed a few topics. And these are topics that, that you are interested in, some more so, some less so. We had the least interest in sexuality education for adult RE. But we had quite a bit of interest in current social justice topics, LGBTQ+, BLM, etc. Other religions, beliefs, culture, and history, there's interest there as well. U history, and building your own theology, sort of in that order. So we'll be approaching these types of topics as we go forward, specifically. Now to get to the eighth principle, we've talked a little bit about the eighth principle. And let me just read what the contents of that are. The eighth principle currently reads, we, the member congregations of a Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote, journeying toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. And you can see here to the right side of the slide that we as a congregation feel strongly that this is something we need to move forward with. In November, we will have the opportunity to vote on how to approach that and when to approach that. And so look forward to that. So we have interest in upholding some of what exists. There are some things we need to change as we move forward, and not just our mode of communication, but some of the things that we discuss. And I wanted to just go through who I felt from reading the survey from top to bottom, who we are. Because this is who we will be as we move into the future. And so these are some insights that I gleaned from the survey in general as I read through. We are smart, thoughtful, caring, full of ideas, good intent, but seeking further knowledge. We're supportive of change. Just look at the eighth principle result. We're aging. We are adaptable and resilient. Look at the way we jumped very quickly into the hybrid and virtual services. We're a people with a rich spectrum of views and with shared values. We're creative. We're synergistic as a group, a valuable community. People express clear value in their responses that they're receiving in the fellowship. We are active and interested. So this leaves me with a sense of hope as we approach our changing future. All of these characteristics that we hold as a group. And I feel hopeful that we'll be able to obtain what we're looking for to manage into that future and do so in an effective and reflective way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Sue, for reminding us ways that we can build a new way together. And we'll close our service today with this piece of music by Mary Gregolia, because we are still becoming.
I'm becoming. I am all I've done. I am what I am dreaming. I've only just begun. I am what I'm becoming. I am all I have done. I am what I am dreaming. I've only just begun. You are who you're becoming. You are all you have done. You are what you are dreaming. You've only just begun. You are who you're becoming. You are all you have done. You are what you are dreaming. You've only just begun. We are who we're becoming. We are all we have done. We are what we are dreaming. We've only just begun. We are who we're becoming. We are all we have done. We are what we are dreaming. We've only just begun. We've only just begun.
We close our service by extinguishing our chalice, knowing that the light continues within us. We spill the light into the world. These are the words of Michael Schuller. We have reached the end of this time for letting imagination play with future possibilities. Shall it be concluded then? Or will this adventure, now commenced, continue? In your hearts lies the answer. Thank you for being with us today. And I want to thank everyone who was involved in putting this service together this morning, for all of those who have contributed to the history of this fellowship, and for those yet to come into our rooms and join us as we move into the future. Please remember the giving page on our website to make your offertory gift to the Ames Animal Shelter or to any of the other movements important to this fellowship. Thank you for being with us in Fellowship Hall, in virtual sacred space, as I knock the microphone. Let's have a time of conversation, whether you're in Fellowship Hall or in virtual space, where we'll keep the room open for a while. Thanks again. Enjoy this beautiful day.